Hello folks and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the world of Russian military vehicles with a detailed look at the GAZ-2330 Tigr or Tiger light armoured car. This is a 4x4 beast and has been referred to as the Russian Humvee, and I'll kind of agree with that, and for good reason. Today we're going to explore everything about this wonderful little armoured vehicle and how it stacks up against some of its Western counterparts. But before we jump in, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor of today's videos. If you love strategizing on a global scale, you'll definitely want to check out Supremacy World War III. It's a free-to-play, real-time strategy game where you can command nations in modern world conflict scenarios. Build up your armies and air force, research new weapons and powerful alliances with other players to dominate the battlefield. And the cool part of this, folks, is that matches play out in real time on an expansive world map, so you're actually making tactical decisions 24/7 alongside thousands of other commanders live. Now, I've been building my own coalition, and trust me, it's pretty addictive plotting along the next move on the world stage against other people. The game is available on PC, iOS and Android, and you should use my link in the description box below or the on-screen QR code, and you'll start with the Elite Main Battle Tank, a package premium unit, which is a bundle normally worth around €25, available free for a limited time. This heavy hitter tank gives your forces the extra punch from day one, and trust me, you're going to need it. So do your inner general a favor and join me alongside many others in Supremacy World War III to test your own strategy skills. And a big thanks and shout out to the game and Supremacy World War III for sponsoring today's video and supporting the channel. Now, let's get back to the Tiger. So, the story of the Tiger begins in the late 1990s when Russia set out to create a modern, multi-purpose military vehicle to match or exceed Western designs, particularly that of the Humvee. Interestingly, an early driving force was a foreign request. The United Arab Emirates was looking for a Humvee-like 4x4, but with improved armor protection. In response, engineers at GAZ, or Gorky Automobile Plant, developed what would become the GAZ-2330 Tigr, aiming to combine off-road mobility, troop carrying capacity, and light armor into one package. The design philosophy was quite simple, centered on producing a high-mobility, all-terrain infantry mobile vehicle that could transport soldiers and equipment quickly over rough terrain while keeping them safe from small arms of shrapnel. In essence, Russia wanted a rugged 4x4 that could fill a multitude of roles previously served by unarmoured light vehicles, but with added protection and versatility. By 2001, the first prototype was unveiled at the IDEX Arms exhibition in Abu Dhabi, a fitting debut in the Middle East given the UAE's interests initially. This early reveal showcased the vehicle's conventional layout, engine up front, crew in the middle, cargo passengers in the rear, and hinted at Russia's intention to market the vehicle both domestically and abroad from the very start. Once the concept proved promising, development continued in Russia under the Military Industrial Company, or VPK, a division of GAZ. The Tiger's design emphasized simplicity and robustness, a truck-like chassis frame, independent 4x4 suspension, and a diesel power plant, all tried and true elements for reliability in harsh conditions. Early prototypes even incorporated American-made Cummins diesel engines. Yes, this indicates that at the time, Russia's willingness initially was to use foreign components for better performance, which kind of blew my mind. The overarching philosophy, though, was to create the modular platform that could be adapted into multiple variants, whether it be a patrol vehicle, weapons carrier, command post, etc. Very similar to how the Humvee spawned many versions of its own. By blending an off-road truck DNA with light armor and modern amenities, like run-flat tires, central tire inflation, the Tiger was meant to give the Russian forces a flexible vehicle for the new millennium. Now, don't let its relatively compact size fool you. The Tiger packs some impressive technical specs under the hood. Now, depending on the variant, Tigers mount various diesel engines. Earlier models commonly use the Cummins B180 5.9-litre turbo diesel at about 180 horsepower, while later models and the improved Tigr-M switched to the Russian Yamz 534 diesel, which is around 215 horsepower. That's a lot of power for a vehicle of this kind. However, she's not light. The vehicle tips the scales at roughly 6 to about 7.2 tons overall, combat loaded. With a full-time 4x4 drive, it can achieve surprisingly high speeds, though, of up to 125 or 140 km an hour, or 78 to 87 miles per hour on roads. Off-road, it remains fairly agile too. Independent torsion bar suspension on the wheels and hydraulic shock absorbers and a central tyre inflation system allow the driver to adjust tyre pressures on the fly or on sand, mud, rocky ground, etc. This is fairly common as we see in modern day 4x4s, but they've really put emphasis on the amount of weight that they're having to carry with this thing and making sure that suspension is bumped up very heavily. Now, it is praised for its speed and agility, but often can be seen outpacing some of its Western counterparts in cross-country performance. It can surprisingly ford up to 1.2 meters of deep water and climb steep grades thanks to the generous approach to departure angles of around 52 degrees. It's been built very much so for Russia's diverse climates from -40 up to +50 degrees Celsius. Inside, it can accommodate up to 5 to 6 personnel depending on the configuration that's been set upon, and the driver and commander can normally push out a couple of extra troops if they have more radios or equipment or ammunition to put inside of there, but overall you're looking at about 6 to 7 troops if you wish to kind of pull it in a full configuration of troops being deployed from there. The seating layout on the interior can be configured for various different missions, from carrying fully armed soldiers to housing the full communication suite. Now, for a lightly armoured vehicle, it offers fairly good protection for its class. The armoured hull is made of welded steel plates, 5mm thick on most versions and up to 7mm on specialised police variants. This provides ballistic protection against small arms fire of around about 5.56 to 7.62mm rounds and the shell fragments that could come from artillery. Now, it does have a bit of resistance against mines or IEDs, but certainly not best suited for it. The windshields and the side windows are also bullet resistant, and the spall liners inside help prevent lethal fragments if the armour is perforated. In practical terms, and on paper, I would say the armour is somewhat pretty good enough to shield occupants and components inside the vehicle from, say, stray bullets or shrapnel or low-intensity engagements, though it's not meant to really resist heavy machine guns or anti-vehicle weapons. It is, after all, a lightly armoured vehicle. In terms of armament, the Tigr is usually armed with whatever the crew wants to stick on top of it, literally anything. It has a rotating turret ring that can mount the 7.62mm PKM or the 30mm AGS-17 automatic grenade launcher, among many other weapons. There are also multiple firing ports in the armoured glass or hull, and there are variants to allow the troops to fire their rifles from cover with inside some of the models, but again, it's kind of like the Bradley in the day where they were looking at portholes. It's just reducing the vehicle's armor protection when you're making weak points to fire out the sides. Newer Tigr-M variants can even equip remote-controlled weapon stations, for example the Russian Arbalete DM turret with a 12.7mm heavy machine gun, otherwise known as the Cord, and thermal optics have also been integrated on some of the vehicles. With a 5-speed manual transmission, full-time all-wheel drive and features like power steering and ABS, it is designed to be relatively easy to drive for the soldiers and even engage targets on the move. With 160 litres of fuel, it gives it a fairly good cruising range around 1,000 kilometres or 620 miles, and this is on roads without refueling. It's quite useful though for long patrols, particularly in the snowy tundras of Russia. The Tigr might not be the heaviest armoured rig out there, but it does strike a bit of a balance between mobility and protection that suits the needs for rapid response units or even potentially command posts that need to set up intensive amounts of signals in very remote areas, which is of course for Russia's geography very, very important. One of the Tigr's biggest strengths though is that it's not just a single vehicle, it's a whole family of variants, and just like Russia's entire fleet of armoured vehicles in its entirety, there's millions of variants. It's so many that we're not going to go through too many of them today, but let's talk about a few of them. The GAZ-2330 is the standard military Tigr. This is essentially the base model in the Russian military service. Sometimes the base is referred to as the GAZ-2975, while the GAZ-2330 is the overall project. It's the original armoured troop carrier version adopted in 2006, with seating for 8 to 10 troops and a basic armour package. You then have the Tigr-M. The modernised variant was introduced around 2010 and entered service in 2013 and was a major upgrade to the original design. The Tigr-M features a more powerful diesel engine, an improved transmission and differentials, and an NBC protection system, which also has a little bit thicker of an armor setup and can mount advanced equipment like the Arbalete DM remote system. Externally though, it's pretty much the exact same, but under the hood and capabilities that it has inside, even with its radios, it's certainly a lot better and domestically sourced, and a fairly robust little beast. Interestingly, there was also the Tigr 2, a civilian SUV, in a rather strange twist. GAZ also developed a civilian luxury SUV version of the Tigr, nicknamed the Tigr 2, and shown in 2006 and produced in a small series by 2008 and 2009. Tigr also serves as a mobile missile carrier with the Cornet D and Cornet EM anti-tank version. In this configuration, the Tigr carries a paired Cornet EM missile pack that pops up from the back and engages enemy tanks or armoured vehicles at long range. Of course, like any vehicle, the command post and reconnaissance variant was also produced. Several Tigr platforms have been outfitted as purely communication or recon vehicles. For instance, the R145 BMA is a command post Tigr jam-packed with radios, antenna, and even jamming equipment as a mobile HQ. There's also the MKT-K REPP electronic warfare Tigr, specifically also known as the Lear 2 system, designed to intercept or jam communications. Additionally, the Tigr Scout variant exists with telescoping masts and radars for battle surveillance. These specialized versions are really starting to leverage the Tigr's mobility to support in C4ISR roles, or command control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Yeah, it's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? The Tigr, though, has also been adapted for foreign customers too, notably, of course, China. They co-produced a batch of these vehicles after 2008, locally designated as the YJ-2080 Sentinel for their paramilitary police. These Chinese Tigers had some localized components, engines, etc., and were famously used to help secure the 2008 Beijing Olympics, and in subsequent domestic operations. Belarus also unveiled the Lys-PM, a local variant assembled from Tigr kits, with plans for full local production nicknamed the Fox. There's even a version produced by Canadian-based Straight Group called the Falcon, essentially a Tigr made under license for export markets, seen at ARN's Expos in 2018. Different countries have certainly requested different configurations, including things like right-hand drive, minor tweaks, or specific equipment, but by and large, these export Tigers showcase the platform's adaptability to various user needs. But these are just some of the highlights. In total, the Tigr family includes dozens of modifications when you count prototypes and one-offs, from a two-door open-top parade vehicle like the SP-46 used in Victory Day parades, to armoured ambulances and even UAV carrier concepts. The Tigr's blank slate design has allowed engineers to really get creative, and it's very, very popular because of this versatility. To give you an idea of scale, as of May 2020, over 2,000 of these vehicles have been built in total since 2005, and the platform has been exported to over 16 countries worldwide. That's a substantial footprint for a relatively new vehicle. Then came the biggest test yet, the Tigr's extensive use in the 2022 Russian-Ukraine war that is, of course, still to this day going on. During the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Tigr-Ms were heavily deployed as scout cars, troop transports, and weapon carriers by Russian forces. Dozens have been visually confirmed in combat, and even fitted with the remote-controlled turrets for added firepower. Ukrainian troops managed to capture several Tigers on the battlefield and have been seen repurposing them for their own use, perhaps the ultimate unintended export, I guess. The intense combat also spurred quick adaptations. For example, Russia developed a Field Expedient add-on armor kit for the Tigr after seeing them taking hits in Ukraine. With the war prompting higher demand, production of Tigr-M vehicles reportedly surged in 2022 and 2023, with the Defense Ministry doubling down on orders to replace losses. As of this video, the Tigr's production line is still active and churning out vehicles to equip Russian units and fulfill export orders. Now, the Tigr may have started as a light armoured car, but in practice it really does field a wide array of operational roles. For example, airborne troops, or the VDV, and specialised forces have adapted Tigr-Ms as rapid assault vehicles. Some of them have actually gutted these vehicles to the bare bones to make them simple and quick, that they don't mind losing in battle. It gets them to the front and pulls them back out again. So how does the Tigr stack up against Western 4x4 military vehicles? It's often inevitable that the GAZ Tigr gets compared to the American Humvee. After all, the Tigr was essentially Russia's answer to the Humvee. In many ways, they serve a similar purpose as a light, multi-role vehicle, but there are some key differences due to the era and philosophies behind them. The Humvee was introduced in the 1980s and became famous during the Gulf War in the early 90s. It was designed as a general-purpose utility vehicle and originally had minimal armour. Earlier Humvees were basically heavy-duty Jeeps. Over the years, though, up-armoured kits were added to the threat environment that was changing for them, IEDs in Iraq, for example. The Tigr was designed in the late 1990s and 2000s, benefiting from observing the Humvee's evolution. Right out the gate, most Tigrs were built with an armoured hull to protect against small arms and shrapnel. In contrast, the US had to retrofit armour onto Humvees after that fact. In terms of size and capacity, the Tigr is a little bit larger internally and can carry up to 10 to 11 people in a pinch, whereas a Humvee typically carries around 4 to 6, but plus maybe some more in the back in certain variants. This means the Tigr can function more like a light APC if needed, while the Humvee was more of a utility truck. Let's look at the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, otherwise known as the JLTV. It's the successor to the Humvee for the US military. It's a newer generation, entered service in the late 2010s, and puts a huge emphasis on crew protection. I have done a video on the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle if you want to go check it out, but in comparison, the JLTV is heavier, 6+ tons, more expensive, costing about $400,000 versus the $200,000 for the Tigr, and features a V-shaped hull and advanced armor, a lot better at defending against mines and IEDs, which I would certainly say is the Tigr's biggest weakness. In essence, the JLTV is a marriage of Humvee's utility with MRAP level protection. The Tigr, unfortunately, does not compare, and I would say the JLTV is certainly going to take, in the grand scheme of things, a better platform as an armoured response vehicle. Another Western counterpart is the British Land Rover-based vehicles or the German G-Class Wolf, but those really are generally lighter duty vehicles than the Tigr, more sort of, again, utility vehicles. The Panther from the British Army was a vehicle that's very similar, but most of them have been discontinued now and no longer used. A closer European analogue of the Iveco LMV or Linz, used by Italy and others, and indeed Russia itself bought a batch of Iveco LMVs in the early 2010s for comparison. The Iveco and French's VBL or Spanish URM VAMTAC are all in the light tactical vehicle category. The Tigr's advantage is it usually costs a lot lower and still has very good performance. Its disadvantage, though, from a Western perspective, is it's a lot less protection and reliance on some imported components. To sum off on an east and west face-off the Tigr v Humvee, the Tigr is newer and came off a lot better from the start, carrying more troops, but the Tigr is good enough for most scenarios of today, and is budget-friendly, while Western forces have opted for extra protection at higher costs. But in just a couple of decades of service, the Tigr has grown from a prototype project into an indispensable asset for the Russian armed forces and a popular export among many other countries. On the international stage, the Tigr is also very significant, demonstrating Russia could produce world-class light tactical vehicles competitive with Western offerings. This wasn't always a given. Previous Russian attempts like the BRDM-2 Scout Car or the Vodnik had really mixed successes. The Tigr, however, really in my opinion hit a bit of a sweet spot and managed to become an export success story, thus enhancing Russia's position in the global arms market for wheeled vehicles. Looking forward, the Tigr's production is still, of course, ongoing, as I'd mentioned, especially with current heightened demand, particularly around drone or counter-drone systems. Plans are in motion to continue improving it, for example, integrating even newer weapon stations, communication gear, or better armor. The lessons learned from active combat will no doubt feed into either upgraded Tigr models or its eventual replacement, and of course, probably being a lot better than it is today. But it's telling that even Russia's trials of newer vehicles, they've kept ordering more of these vehicles, suggesting that they're quite happy with the job it's doing and trusting with the troops that it's being used by. In summary, the legacy is that it's a reliable workhorse and a bit of a symbol of modern Russian military mobility. They have the flexibility and the embodiment of a concept that you don't always get the biggest or heaviest vehicles to be effective. Sometimes a well-designed light armored truck can be worth its own weight in gold on the battlefield. Before we sign off today, folks, one last thanks to Supremacy World War III. Please click the link in the description box below to start commanding your own nation and claim that elite main battle tank package, normally around €25 while this offer lasts. It's a perfect way to kick off your global campaign and it helps support this channel. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Tigr light armored vehicles, smash that like button, all the usual stuff. Subscribe to my channel for more military tech content and let me know in the comments what you think of the Tigr. Is it a thumbs up or would you take a Humvee or JTL TV instead? I always love hearing your thoughts. A huge thanks for your support to my channel, particularly those who've been supporting my Patreon and PayPal. Thank you. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next video. All the best, folks. Bye-bye.